Here's a question for you. Who do you think eats more often? The cheetah or the lion? Now, most people would say the cheetah because it's the fastest. And you want to know something? I thought the same thing. Yeah, Chat GPT told me it was the lion. I said, hold up, wait a minute. What? The lion? No way. So after going down a rabbit hole and researching it for myself, I come to find out the truth is lions eat more often, but the question becomes why? Because they adapt. They hunt as a pride. Not that kind of pride. A team. I knew that about wolves, but I did not know that about lions. It's like, wow, that's dope. And they always stay focused on the goal. That's what this week becoming the unicorn habit is all about. Agility, baby. In your first 30 to 90 days on a new job, a new position, a new role, whatever it may be, agility can be the difference between being seen as overwhelmed or being trusted as a leader. Welcome to week 3, students. We want to do something a little bit different this week. For the first 2 weeks, we did this live. I took an assessment as your trainer, and I said, well, it'd be nice if I can give you this information before we actually talk about it. That way you have an opportunity to observe these things in your workplace, maybe even get to practice these things in the workplace. That way, when we meet on Friday, we can have a deeper, more legendary conversation than you just hearing this for the very first time. Let me know Friday how you like this new format, if it was beneficial for you. As you can already see, I use Agile even in my life. It's not something I just teach from the manifesto of Agile software development. It's not something I teach in the Becoming a Unicorn series, talking about our 30, 60, 90-day plan of your new role, your new job, your new position. Congratulations to you. So let's talk about Agile adapting like a pro. Our table of contents in this presentation is lesson 1. We're going to do an introduction to Agile. Lesson 2, defining agility. Lesson 3, why agility matters. Lesson 4, weekly challenge. As always, you know you got to have the challenge. But hey, here's the beautiful thing. This challenge you should already be working on by the time we get to Friday. And hopefully you have the challenge already done, or at least seeing some of the things that I will go back and review on Friday night. Lesson 5, going to give you some practice tips and some habit hacks that you can implement to make your life super duper easy. Lesson 6, applying agility. So let's dive right into it. Introduction to Agile. I have a deep dive on this in Scrum Academy. The 3rd video is a deep dive, as I would teach you in the actual professional Scrum Master class. I did a deep dive on the Agile manifesto of software development. So please take a look at that video for a deep dive on Agile as it pertains to the Agile world, as it pertains to the Scrum world. But for the sake of this habit, what we mean by Agile is being nimble, being able to adapt in any environment. This week's overview is about building trust and speed through Agile practices. You're going to learn how to adapt quickly and constructively. We want to emphasize the importance of agility for personal and professional growth. We want to emphasize the importance of using Agile, not just for your professional growth, but also in your personal life. Focus it on adaptability. Change is often uncomfortable, but it's also the one constant that we can count on. This exercise is going to help you notice your natural patterns. We're going to do this exercise on Friday night. So I want to introduce it to you here now so you can begin to think about it. We're going to discuss moments of sudden change and your individual responses. We're going to encourage open conversations about reactions to change. Part 2 of Embracing Change is a group activity where we're going to reflect on past experiences of change and how you initially responded. What can we learn from your initial response? Then we're going to give you an opportunity to share examples to connect our personal experiences with dealing with embracing change. Defining agility. Being agile doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means adjusting smartly without losing progress. So, as we're thinking about an agility definition, agile means adapting quickly and constructively when circumstances change. It's not chaos, but flexibility and resilience. Some key elements of agility are focusing on proactive adaptation, flexibility, and maintaining a positive attitude during changes. Agility is about resilience. Now, on Friday night, we're going to go through this workplace scenario. We have two approaches here to change. Case study one is resistance. Person A is frustrated by change, resisted, and loses momentum. Has that ever happened to you? You so frustrated by what your boss just told you, it just messed up your whole day. Yeah, maybe even your whole week. Maybe even caused you, if you like me, maybe it caused you to say, damn, it's time for me to look for another job. Yep. This is going to highlight the negative impact of resisting change. Then we're going to dive into case study B, which is adaptability. Person B asks clarifying questions, pivots, and keeps progress visible. We want to talk about adaptability. So if you're thinking about the stories in this particular category, person B asks clarifying questions, pivots, and keeps progress visible. Adaptability fosters progress despite challenges. Now, as you're going through this exercise, thinking about this exercise now, I want you to notice how persona B doesn't just accept change, but channels it. That's the key. Flexibility plus action. On Friday, we're going to determine which persona builds trust faster and why, emphasizing the value of adaptability in building trust. The unicorn framework. I want to quickly go over the unicorn framework. We did this in the kickoff about 3 weeks ago live. But just in case if you're new to this, is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. In your first 30 days, people are watching. Can you adjust? In the kickoff weeks ago, I gave you a prompt to create your own 30, 60, 90-day plan. And also we're going to add the unicorn habits to that. And that way you should be legendary in your first 30, 60 to 90 days with this particular framework. Now we are in the first 30 days, which we're creating the foundation of what you're going to be doing. We're creating a nice solid foundation for your learning and also your career. Now, the theme for the foundation phase is to build trust and speed. Now, there are 4 habits in this particular category. We are dealing with the habit of agile, the third one in this particular group. Now, the goal of the foundation is to build credibility, create emotional safety, and show up consistently. Key words, show up. Now, in your first 30 days, as we're talking about agile, people are watching. Or they thinking to themselves, can you adjust when priorities change? Do you stay open-minded instead of frustrated? Do you bring energy or resistance when the plan shifts? Being agile or having agility early on builds your reputation as someone who can be trusted under pressure. And trust leads to more opportunities. As I reflect on all the amazing teams I've had, I wasn't always on the ones working on the best products or the most important initiative at first. In fact, when I first started, I remember being on the worst team in the company. To give you a visual, I want you to visualize a 3-story house. There's the ground level floor, there's the top floor, and then there's the basement. Me and my team was down in the basement. The organization, the company really didn't care whether we delivered anything of value or not. We was that team. Now, on the first level floor and the second floor, those were the teams that was getting all the wild, wild stuff, the good stuff, the AI initiatives and things like that. Meanwhile, I'm down in the basement with the underdogs. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. I love being with the underdogs. I've been an underdog myself on many occasions, so I love that. So Thinking about the Scrum Guide says as a Scrum Master, we are a true leader. Okay. I can't stress this enough that in the first 30 days, you're going to show the team what kind of leader are you. The question become, I'm thinking about the movie Nanny McPhee right now. What kind of leader, what kind of scrum master are you going to be? Are you going to be like the first nanny in Nanny McPhee running around like a chicken with your head cut off? Or are you going to go in to that workplace, to that environment on that scrum team or whatever team you're working on with some type of strategy, with some type of game plan, which is your 30, 60, 90-day plan? I hope that you do that. Why? Because you don't have a whole lot of time to build trust with people before they're going to make a determination of you good or you not good. It don't take long to figure that out. So I'm in the basement working with this team, and I always run the Scrum Guide according to the Scrum Guide. I guess I was lucky from that perspective because all I had was God to guide me and the Scrum Guide. I did self-study. I did take a Scrum class until I actually had to when I became a professional Scrum trainer. So all I had was my thoughts, what I read, and God to guide me. So when I got into the Scrum world, I was all about Scrum. I was not Scrum dumb. And I can quickly see that the other Scrum masters around me was not necessarily doing things like it is identified in the Scrum Guide. Have you seen that before? Dumb question, right? I know you have. So I just buckled down and focused on what I knew. I knew the Scrum Guide. I knew how to implement and execute that. And me and my team, every sprint retrospective, we would come up with a continuous improvement item, that item that we believe will move the needle for the next sprint. That item, not just a checkbox. I don't do no checkbox anything. That item that we believe is going to move the needle for us, make our lives easier, build the best product that we can do. That's pulling away from the sprint retrospective with all the intentions of implementing for the next sprint. So after about 3 months of doing that, we get into a rhythm now of beginning to deliver. Now, this team hadn't delivered in over a year. This is how we do it. That's Montel Jordan, right? Exactly. Not on my watch. Why? Because I'm a true leader. So I set the expectation. Ran a lot of experiments on this team, and in about 3 months, we began to deliver. 4 months go by. We're still delivering. Sprint after sprint, we're still delivering. Okay? Now, mind you, this is a Fortune 10 company. So there are 2,000 Scrum teams in this organization on the first level and the second floor. We down in the basement, remember? Exactly. So 2,000 Scrum teams, including us, and you only have one out of the 2,000 teams that are delivering on a consistent basis. I began to have other Scrum Masters come down in the basement and ask me questions, ask my team questions. Hey, what are y'all doing? Y'all been delivering for like the last 6 months. Y'all been doing this. I mean, everybody looks so happy. Everybody look so friendly. Everybody just want to help and do this. Y'all just look different down here in the basement. Like, yeah, y'all put us down here in the basement. It was an unfinished basement. We're looking at cinder block walls. I mean, it don't even have no sheetrock or anything, right? It was bad. That's the picture I want you to take away. Brick walls. We can see plumbing at the bottom of the floor for the rest of the house. Everything else up on the first level and the second floor. Oh, it was beautiful. But the basement was unfinished. So that's the only time they come down in the basement when they wanted something. They wanted to know how we was doing what we was doing. And after a lot of Scrum Masters came down and interviewed us, management started to come and the Agile coaches started to come, project managers started to come down in the basement where we were and begin to ask us questions. What are y'all doing? And I know they was looking for some wow answer, but my answer was very simple and very clear. We doing Scrum. Come on, Scott. What are you doing, man? Come on, give me your secret. I'm sorry, there is no secret. And if you're in my class right now, you know that I got the Scrum Guide in my hand and up in the air. No, I run Scrum according to this guide. That's it. I don't deviate because I have seen Agile. I have seen the promised land. In most cases, most teams have not seen what Agile look like, smell like, and feel like. They've never seen it, so it's hard to get to a place that you've never seen before. You never witnessed. It's hard to get there. So without being laser focused. I do Scrum. They walked away. Sad. Because, like I said, they was looking for some wild answer. I didn't have a wild answer to give them. I mean, I'm just do Scrum. I understand the framework and implement it quite well, evidently. So after about 8 months, they brought us out of the basement and put us in the penthouse. What does that mean? He said, when you're in the basement, you don't get the best products. You don't get the best projects. Only when you deliver and you build trust with leadership do you begin to get the best products and the best initiatives. So we went all the way from the basement, skipped the first floor, went all the way to the penthouse. And in that penthouse, 8 months later, with me as their leader, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Yeah. Now, at the same time, y'all might know a young lady named Sakara Sharp. She was just starting at Bank of America. We worked there at the same time. And she's the youngest Scrum Master in the Legendary League that I've ever had the pleasure to mentor and coach. Still doing legendary things, almost 5 years later. She was there, and I remember her asking me, can I come see, how you operate your Scrum teams, like sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective? I'm like, no, you can't. So let me get this straight. We work at the same company, but you can come see me, but I can't come see you. That's correct. Why? I said, because the team I'm on is a special team and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And in order for you to come and see me work, you're going to have a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, on file. And I doubt very seriously you will get that. It's like, oh, I get it. And in most organizations I work with, that is the case, whether it be some type of clearance I have to get or some type of non-disclosure agreement I have to sign. But the whole point of me telling you the story is it all started because I walked into my first team, laser focus on, I am going to build a legendary team as I read in this Scrum guide. Period. I didn't know no better. I was naive. It turned out pretty good, right? Since then, built a little reputation, and now when I go on a team, I've never been into the basement ever since then. That was my last underdog team. But I always like to be aware of the underdog team that's in every organization, because that underdog team is just looking for an opportunity to shine, a leader to guide them to the promised land that we call Agile. And I hope that leader becomes you. Like I said, that's why I do what I do. I got into this game to eat. I stay in the game to feed. I stay in this game to create more dynamic feeds so that when you go execute the Scrum Guide and the Agile Manifesto principles, that you can duplicate the same thing I did, the same thing as you see Dynamic Feed do in the movie. And the reason I came up with that movie is I told, most of you, but for the one of two of you who do not know, Scott, why are you always talking about Dynamic Feed? Well, it's because people could not come and see me work, but I can come and see them work. It ain't going to help you that much if you can't see how I operate. So when I watched the movie Dynamic Feed, I'm like, yep, that's exactly how I operate. So that's why I always share with you the movie Dynamic Feed, because to me, the workplace is just like the scenario in that movie. We're dealing with a dysfunctional family, a dysfunctional team. And our job as a Scrum Master, as a leader, is to help them become less dysfunctional so that we can get more done and be productive. That is the goal of every team. Whether you call it Scrum, Agile, or whatever terminology you want to use, that's the goal. That goal will always be there, irregardless of what you call it. Okay? So we're in the first 30 days. And that's why the first 30 days is important, because it's going to help you build that foundation. I'm going to go ahead and remind you now, did you read your Scrum Guide today? If not, I still highly recommend, whether you're practicing as a Scrum Master or not, I highly recommend you read your Scrum Guide each and every day or very regularly. Why? Because if you do not, you will become Scrum down. I mean, Tyler Perry makes a mockery of it from, you don't ever see Medea read the Bible, but sometimes she carries the Bible around, right? And she begins to make quote a scripture out of the Bible. If you know the Bible, you know that as soon as she opens her mouth and says a few words, that is not the quote unquote out the Bible. But Tyler Perry does a good job for those persons who have not read the Bible. So are you doing the same thing, Scrum practitioner, with others around you when they claim they doing Scrum, but yet they not implementing it according to the Scrum guide? All my success has been because I implemented the framework as it was laid out. I did not use Scrum as an a la carte. A lot of places use Scrum as a la carte. So something to think about there. That is your foundation. Okay. So for those of you who's the first time looking at the framework, there's the framework again. We'll come back from this time to time. The next 31 to 60 days, we'll be getting into execution in another week or two. So looking forward to deep and diving into that. We're going to go from showing up to the next level. Yes. Why agility matters. Whether you're a nurse, developer, recruiter, or analyst, every role faces shifting priorities. Being agile makes you a stabilizer, not a stressor. Now, what is the relevance of this for your career, especially early in your career? Well, we all know that change is constant. We learned that in about elementary school, correct? Exactly. Since change is constant, we can expect projects, priorities, even managers will shift. Agility helps us to navigate unpredictable work environments. We learned that in the Professional Scrum Master 1 class. Scrum is made for complex work. What does that mean? Complex work means that there's more unknown than known about what we're trying to do. Okay. And it also means in that environment, there is more unpredictability than predictability. Okay. Beautiful. Now, what are the benefits of adapting professionally or personally? One, in the workplace, it's going to build credibility. Two, is going to enhance calmness. Three, creates momentum. Four, strengthens professional reputation. Five, earns trust through adaptability. Now, going back to my 3-level house where me and my Scrum team was working in the basement, and now I'm in the penthouse. Notice I had to deliver in the basement before I ever got to the penthouse. I say that again. Notice I had to deliver in the basement before I ever got to the penthouse. You see, because I delivered in the basement, that created more opportunities for me. Now, leadership trust adaptable people with more opportunities. Why? Because adaptable people are viewed as reliable and capable. Capable doesn't mean that we have all the answers. Capable means that, hey, we're going to do what we need to do to help the team win, to help the team get to the finish line and achieve our sprint goal and achieve our ultimate product goal. We all have goals in life. Organization is no different. Okay. Now, here's the other beautiful thing about that. As you deliver on the lower levels, you get more opportunities on the higher levels. But check this out. Now, let's go look at your career growth. Agility leads to increased responsibility and career advancement. Well, down in the basement, you was the Scrum Master, basically the leader of the team, and you led them out of the basement into the penthouse. Is that leadership or what? That's beautiful leadership, highlighting the long-term benefits of adaptability. Are you the type of person people will follow in the basement, on the first floor, or even in the penthouse? If not, let's talk about it. This week, here's your Agile challenge. When something changes, pause. Ask 3 questions. What's the new goal? What's no longer important? How can I help? Then act. Don't just react. Try this once, even in a small meeting, and watch how people respond. I look forward to hearing about it on Friday. Being agile makes you a stabilizer, not a stressor. Let's bring back our cheetah versus lion story. The cheetah, as we know, is very fast, but if it misses the chance to get the deer, it burns out. Now, the deer in this analogy represents our sprint goal. A static target could be. In most cases, it's like a deer. It's a moving target. We have to go catch it. It's not just standing there waiting for us to grab it. Are any of your goals like that? Just sitting there like, hey, I'm just waiting on you to come by and pick me, be it $1 million or $1 or whatever the case may be. That would be nice. But at 99.9% of the time, that's not going to be the case. The sprint goal is going to be like the deer. The deer is very agile. The lion might be slower, but with the pride is the team. It adapts, it coordinates, and it eats more often than the cheetah. In your workplace, the goal is the deer. If you chase alone, you might burn out. You're likely to burn out. How's that going for you right now? Those of you who are in the Legendary League, you walking through your first 30 days, not necessarily with ease, but with focus and purpose. I can only imagine. I have talked to some students who are not in the Legendary League. They stress like hell. And I tried my best to leave that conversation in a positive manner. And I politely said, hey, I'm still waiting on you to join the Legendary League. Still waiting on you. We'll be there. We'll be there when you're ready. Because trying to do it on your own, like the cheetah, you will ultimately burn out. Versus like the lion, as well as wolves, they operate in packs. Lions call it pride. The team. You have a team, okay? But if you adapt with your team, you'll accomplish the sprint goal more often than not. Implementing Agile. Step 1, choose a change. Choose one unexpected change this week and document your response to it. This is practical application of the Agile principles. Step number 2, seek clarity. Ask, what's the new goal? And adjust accordingly to achieve new objectives. You see, by adjusting your plans, this ensures adaptability. Now, once you get done with that, maybe you like to journal. I love to journal. I love to write things down. I guess I'm a bit old school in that. But you have all kinds of devices now. You can speak into something. I would certainly highly recommend you to put your information in the Legendary League community, share it with others. I'm pretty sure what is likely to happen is what you're going through, other people are going through as well. That's probably not going to be nothing new under the sun that you're going to like, wow, I've never seen that before. I doubt very seriously I'm going to see that, but it is possible. But sharing your experiences promotes a collaborative learning environment. That's what we're trying to do here. Very nice. Let's talk about some habit hacks, some practice tips that will help you to hone in on this agile habit. I want you to think about your communication techniques. Have you ever been in an environment whereas you heard somebody come up with a great idea? It could have even been you. You or somebody you heard came up with a great idea to the group and the group just shut it down. It didn't even have a chance to come to turn into something. Why? Because as soon as the person was done talking about it, everybody or somebody said, no, that won't work. If you're in an environment like that, that kills innovation. That kills spirit. That kills morality. Now, I go to Toastmasters, as you know. Specifically, I go to Improv Toastmasters, and this is where I learned about the yes and communication technique. We play this game in Toastmasters. Very fun game. At a retrospective, I use this because I had a team that we were stuck on a problem, and I know we needed to tap into our innovation side, but we was just in a negative environment. So this was one tool I used to take that negative environment and turn it into a positive environment for innovation to thrive. So here's what we did at the retrospective. If somebody shares an idea, you cannot knock it down. You can only add to it. So imagine you got 10 people in a room. One person says a good idea. Okay, one starts the game off, starts the process off. It goes to two. Two says yes, and yes is acknowledging what was said, and they're going to add to it. If you can imagine, by the time it gets to the 10th person, they have 9 previous additions to the first person's idea. Wow. How is that for innovation? That's one of the most legendary things I've ever seen in my life, is to see that magic happen in that particular environment. Truly legendary. Use yes and language when plans change. Fosters positivity during uncertain times. It encourages building on new ideas. The other thing you could do is reframe. But before I get to reframe, I want to talk about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. I have been through both periods. When I was younger, I had a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you definitely don't like much change. Why? Because you like things, you got your routine, you got your rhythm, and it's like almost like you autistic or something. And if something doesn't mess up your routine, it just messes up your spirit, messes up your day, because you all caught up into your routine. But we both forgot that we live in an ever-changing world. Change is constant, right? Wow. Yes. I didn't understand that when I was younger. So when my boss came and told me to do something different than what I was already doing, I didn't have the mental capacity to understand what was going on with me as to why I resisted what my boss told me to do so much. It was because I had a fixed mindset. I had my rhythm, I had my routine, and I didn't want my routine to be broken. Exactly. Fix for a while and talk about the way we talk to ourselves in our mind with the fixed mindset. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I can't learn that. I can't. Oh my goodness. Like that negative person, right? We shutting everything down before we even give it a chance. Exactly. Fixed mindset. If there's a big obstacle in your way, you ain't going to embrace that challenge. That's probably the day you're going to say, no, I'm going to find me another job. I ain't got time for this shiggity. Why? Because you have a fixed mindset and you haven't yet embraced a growth mindset. Okay? Now let's go over to the growth mindset side. If you notice, most of the colors I use in my businesses are definitely the colors of blue, except for not Scrum Dumb. That's red. We want to make a statement. Not Scrum Dumb. Outside of Not Scrum Dumb logo, all my other logos have the colors blue in it. Why? Because blue represents trust, and the other color is green. Green represents growth. Exactly. So looking at this image here, what questions, how do you talk to yourself? Do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? There are several mindsets, and you need to be aware of your mindset, because what goes in your head comes out in your body into the world. Let's go to a growth mindset. How does a growth mindset talk to him or herself? Well, I got this big challenge in front of me, but I'm going to embrace it like we did when we was younger children. We had a growth mindset when we was children. Oh, my goodness. We was relentless, curious. I'm trying to get back to that stage, right? A growth mindset says, okay, you got this big obstacle in your way. So instead of looking at that obstacle and saying, hey, go ahead and admitting defeat before you even give it a try, don't you find it strange that sometimes we as human beings will find out all the ways something will not work and never consider, well, what if it does work? How can I get this to work? I've spent more time younger in my life thinking about how things will not work. For example, you in your internship now, you on this new job in the 30, 60, 90-day plan, you at this new job, you thinking of all the reasons right now that you might not get converted as an intern, and you're really not giving much consideration. What are all the things you could do to ensure that you do get converted? What are all the things you could do to get to the next position in the company that you want to get to? We give very little thought to that. As a growth mindset, there's a big obstacle in front of us, but we say to ourselves, okay, I may have to go learn some new things. I may have to Ask some questions and be humble, be transparent, all the things that Scrum and Agile embraces, right? And okay, I may not know that thing today, but give me 30 days. I'm going to come back to the table with knowing that thing, or at least an idea of how to navigate through that thing. You say, we as human beings have that ability to do that. Woo! Isn't it amazing? Now, one quick thing I want to touch on while I'm in that vein, because my brain is going all over the place right now. I'm thinking about the negative person in the world that you think life is just so bad for you, can't see opportunities. I got that person in my mind right now. Things just look so impossible to you. But I want to share with you that it is possible. How do we know that? Okay, that's why I'm leaving this picture of this brain up, question mark, attached to your brain. How do you talk to yourself? What kind of thoughts do you allow go through your brain? You really got to monitor that, especially when you're trying to create the mindset you need to be the unicorn, to be the person that you want to be with all the money that you want to have. You got to work on the mind. Okay, so this is a good practice for you. When we came into this world, every one of us, we didn't know how to do shit. Our mom and daddy had to hold our head up so we wouldn't break our neck. We didn't know how to talk the language. We didn't even know how to feed ourselves. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to do nothing. So whenever you allow a negative thought to go through your brain again, I want you to go back to the beginning of your time, the day you was born. Maybe you can't remember that in grave detail, but look at a child. That could give you an idea of what I'm talking about. You couldn't do nothing. So when I hear somebody tells me they can't do this and they can't do that, I'm like, wow. If one was to say that, I would have expected you to say that when you first came to this world, where you really could not do anything. Literally. But you are the smartest species on this planet. And if you ever get your brain right to believe that there is nothing bigger than you, go learn it, go do it, and make it happen. I hope and pray that you get to that point sooner than later. Let's talk about reframing. As reframe changes as opportunity to learn and acquire new skills. A positive mindset towards change boosts motivation. And let me give you an example of reframing. I was at Fidelity Investments, working on the Scrum team there. So I'm in the penthouse now, right? This is after the first one, right? Exactly. I'm in the penthouse now. So I work with the Scrum team at Fidelity Investments, and I didn't know until I worked at Fidelity that they have this annual enrollment platform that they actually created for themselves. So during January through September, we're working on new features and functionalities for this platform that we built in-house, okay? Now, in the month of September to October, Fidelity, this platform was so wild that other companies wanted this platform from Fidelity. They didn't build it initially to allow other people to use it. But if you're at a Fortune 500 company, the chances are high that they're using Fidelity's platform for annual enrollment. Well, Scott, what is annual enrollment? Well, this is when you have a job, typically between September and October. They have you to, this is like the one time a year here in the United States where you get to figure out your medical provider, your health insurance, your dental insurance, your vision insurance, accidental death, life, disability, all those things. Annual enrollment. Exactly. Okay. Now, if you're a new employee, you get that access to that right away. But thinking about everybody else, once you get, if you're not new or something dramatically changed in your life, like getting married or something, for most companies here in the United States, that time period is somewhere between September and end of November at the latest. Okay. So being this Scrum team, I think it's about 15 people for the whole company that handles this here particular platform. From January to September, we're working on new features and functionality. And from September to December, all we're doing is like the maintenance team, the defect team, taking in calls for companies like General Motors, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple. You get the idea, right? All these companies are doing annual enrollment for all of their people, and me and 13 or 15 other people are there to take in all the defects. Well, we have a call center too, but call center didn't fix the defects. We did that at the Scrum team, though. call center just basically took the call, took the play, and did what they could to remedy the process. Each company would have different problems, but in the off season, when we go back to building new features and functionality. So my first year in doing this, it comes January after I've gone through this season, and we had to sprint retrospective captain on things that we learned. One of the things came up, we were looking at data and analytics. Again, I'm not into velocity and stupid stuff like that. Rookie Scrum Masters do stuff like that. I'm looking at innovation. I'm looking at a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm looking at providing value to our company as well as the stakeholders. That's my metric. I'm thinking about the Agile Manifesto. The metric we should be going by is working software, working product. Okay. That is my number one metric. That is my number one goal for a Scrum team, to deliver value to customers, period. So it is January. We're having a conversation looking at the defects. We looked at a report that showed us the number one and number two defects. One angle of defects could be a lack, a shortcoming of. So we have this big, beautiful platform. But when customers call the call center, they call there for two reasons. One reason they called in during that time is because they wanted a copy of their health ID card. You know, the little card you take to your provider? Exactly. They called in for that. And that wasn't a huge deal. They could generate that at the call center. But the other problem was the biggest problem. Now, that problem was, you've been through this here. Think about your car insurance or your homeowner's insurance. And if you're paying car insurance this year, and they don't send you last year's bill, but you have a feeling that your premium has gone up. You don't really know, but you feel like it has. Wouldn't it be nice? So you call the insurance company, hey, look, my premium seems very higher than what it was last year. So if you could imagine, our call centers get these type of calls from all these Fortune 500 companies, people calling about the same thing. Hey, I feel like my premiums have increased. Okay. So we're at Sprint Retrospective and we have a problem. These are the two problems that we're talking about. And they dreading, this is January, and we got a few months before we're going to have to go through this all over again. And I posed the question, reframing. They looked at that as a defect. And I posed the question of, how about we take that defect and turn it into a feature? They looked at me like I was crazy. Like, well, Scott, what do you mean? Well, is there a way we can create a feature out of that so that the customer will have what they want? So basically the customer's saying what they want would be, hey, it would be nice if I have a way to compare what I'm paying now versus what I paid last year, since that's taking up 90% of the calls that we get at the calling center. That will save us $1 gazillion if we create that feature. And as a dual effect, that will be ultimate customer satisfaction, because those are two things they're calling in for. Let's go ahead and generate automatic healthcare cards. That's an easy fix. We can create a feature for that. That is easy. That's what we agreed upon. And for the next 6 months before annual enrollment again, we decided to go ahead and create a new feature, whereas you, the customer, when you do annual enrollment on the Fidelity-based platform. Now, if you at General Motors or Apple or Microsoft, you won't know it's Fidelity platform. I want you to think about Jira. If you know Jira on a personal level, and if you go to the enterprise and you use Jira, you may not see the logo there because it's branded with that enterprise company. But you know it's Jira. It's the platform. Same thing with Fidelity. I know it's the Fidelity platform, but you just know it as, oh, this is just annual enrollment. This is just the platform I go and get my health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, blah, blah, blah. But in most cases, that's the platform that Fidelity Investments created. Imagine that. They saw an opportunity. They created another division, health division in Fidelity Investments. So for the next few months, we worked on creating that feature. We just finished it before annual enrollment launched again. And this time, everybody was pretty, from what I understand, and from what they told me before I finished that contract, was that was the smoothest annual enrollment that they had ever seen and witnessed. We was tired and exhausted. This January, we all refreshed, like we just coming back off of a nice Christmas and New Year's holiday, right? We all refreshed, ready to get to it and figure out the next value that we're going to provide for our customers. You see, that's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, as a Scrum Master. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be a person writing the code. You just have to be that leader to guide them to the promised land. So that's reframing, putting Agile into action. Action number 1, manage your task. One of the things I do is keep a daily flexible task list. I categorize things in 2 ways, must do versus can shift. Prioritizing important tasks. Adaptable task management reduces stress. Okay. Action number 2, improve. Agility is a continuous process. Make constant adjustments to improve. Remember, your plan is not static, which means you do it once and that's it. No, it's dynamic. It's always going to be changing based upon what's going on around you, what's going on with you, your family, your workplace. You got to take in all these factors. So this reinforces the iterative approach that's already built into Agile practices. And action number 3, be Agile, baby. Be Agile, do Scrum, and be super duper legendary. Apply Agile principles daily. Adapt to trust and speed up progress. Building up Agile habits. Some other tips, modern tips. Use your note apps to track questions and updates. Set a reoccurring 15-minute check-in with yourself. These are some things I used to do. I used to be like super duper ADHD, right? And if you're stuck, ask AI for help before you waste 3 hours trying to figure something out. Now, I'm thinking about the person who you may want to go ask somebody, but nobody is readily available right now. So why don't you go ahead and do some pre-due diligence, do some pre-research, and maybe your question can get answered during that search for discovery. There's some things to think about there. Reflection and micro shift. I want you to think of a time you had to adapt quickly at work or school. Did you resist or did you help move things forward? Write it down, journal it, share it with the legendary lead community. That's where the growth happens. Self-reflection. Cat is looking into the mirror and sees a lion, or the lion is looking into the mirror and sees a cat. If you ever had this experience, shouldn't the person you be at home be the same person at work? Yes, it should. And vice versa? Yes, it should. I shouldn't go to work and be viewed as a lion, and I get home, I'm a cat. Something's out of whack, right? Exactly. So this is something that we're going to do on Friday as well. Personal reflection. Again, I'm glad you got this ahead of time so that we can really deep dive and, hopefully you have some stuff by Friday when we have the live version of this. The question, how do I usually react to change? Do I resist, freeze, or adapt? This encourages self-awareness and introspection, understanding one's own reactions. Actionable improvements. The question, what is one micro shift I can make this week to respond with agility? Setting small, achievable goals promotes gradual change. Don't make all your goals long-term. Allow yourself to have some short-term gains, some short wins, because we all like to see progress. We all like to see, okay, let me check this off. Okay, I got this certification. Okay, I accomplished this milestone. So as you're setting up your plan, make sure you have strategic milestones in there, including to celebrate, that you can reward yourself so that, you could train your body. Oh, okay, I just completed that. If all your goals are 2 years out, that's too long. Your brain might get discouraged and just too much risk in your plan being too far out without some type of small milestone. Okay. Yeah, 3 years, that's the big goal, but can you create some little small goals for you to achieve like what we're doing now? These are micro habits, micro goals that you can work on and see some results immediately. That way you can celebrate. Good job, Scott. Good job, Isaac. Good job, Adam. Yeah. Keep it going. Keep it going. I like what you're doing. Embracing change encourages the ongoing practice of Agile, adapt for success. Unicorns aren't remembered for avoiding change. They're remembered for turning change into momentum. That's how you stand out. Being agile isn't about speed, it's about adaptability. If you want to practice with me, cheetahs impress, but lions eat. If you want to practice with the Legendary League, I'll see you on this Friday night inside the Legendary League community. Bring your 30, 60, 90-day plan, bring your stories, bring your learnings, and let's grow together. So here's the takeaway. Agility isn't about running the fastest. It's about adjusting when things change and still delivering on the goal. Remember, cheetahs impress, lions eat. And in the workplace, the ones who adapt are the ones who succeed. Document one change you face, big or small. How did you adapt? Did you resist? Or did you help move things forward? And don't forget, on Friday, we'll meet live inside the Legendary League of Extraordinary Scrum Practitioners. That's where we'll practice these skills together and share real stories of agility in action. If you haven't joined yet, what are you waiting on? The link is in the description. Bring your 30, 60, 90-day plan, bring your reflections, and I'll see you on Friday. One announcement I'm thinking about right now. I've been talking to the legends, the OG legends, and I'm going to bring some of them back for the first Friday in September. I'm going to have some new ones come for the first Friday mastermind. This will be for members only. So if you hadn't got your membership yet, please go ahead and do so that you won't miss that. That'll also be the kickoff meeting for us going into the second phase of 31 days to 60 days. So keep your plans up to date. Again, the plans that you wrote down on day one are definitely not going to be the plans that you're going to have today. Again, it's not static and it's very dynamic. So the things you thought you needed to work on in the beginning of this series probably not going to be the things you end up working on. It's likely to be a lot more than what you originally thought, which is a good thing. That means you're growing at an exponential rate. That's the whole purpose and goal of what we're trying to do here. Can't think of anything else right now. Love each and every one of you. Y'all continue to be legendary, do legendary thing. And as you already know, be agile, do Scrum, and be super duper legendary while you're doing it. I'll see you on Friday.